Okay, now we're going to go over corporate leases because I want to show you exactly what method I use to get my units, and that means I need all of you to understand corporate leases. You need to know what they are, and you need to know why we use them. A corporate lease is written to a company instead of an individual. This just means that it would be your business LLC on the lease instead of your personal name. You don't want this thing on your personal liability, and you don't want your personal name on this lease. If you put your name on the lease, then you're personally responsible for everything in that lease, and ultimately you have no protection under a worst case scenario. If anything happens, they can come directly after you. If you put it under a lease, a corporate lease gives you the protection of the corporate veil, which means that if a worst case scenario were to happen, they can't come after you personally and your personal liabilities, especially for a long-term business, which is what we're in it for. We're not in it for a quick dollar. We're trying to do this and do this the right way. We're always going to make sure we sign under a corporate lease to get that corporate protection. So first and foremost, we're doing it to protect ourselves, but we're also doing it to create transparency between the landlord. You do not want them under the impression that this lease is for personal use and you're not going to be subletting it. If they think that, then you would be liable for all of the payments if they decided to kill the contract because you weren't using it as you signed the lease. You signed it under your personal name. You told them you were going to be living there. Then they found out that's not the case. They could kill that entire contract because you're operating under a business, and you would be responsible for all of the payments that were not yet paid on that lease. So you don't want to be on the hook for all of those additional payments. So you want to be completely transparent. And that's what the corporate lease does. It says, hey, I'm a business. I'm coming in here. I have business purposes for this property. So we never want an unclear picture of our operations. Our communication will oftentimes be the difference in getting some of these units. If you can't communicate properly with the landlord, then your odds of getting this unit and explaining this business model to them are going to go down drastically. In addition, you can't go into a high rise and lock in 5 units at once under a personal lease. Obviously, you can't live in all 5 units. You can only do that with a corporate lease. So the way we reach out to potential landlords is not the way that restricts us to 1 unit. It's a way that allows us to come in so they know what we're doing, and we can potentially get 5, 10, 20, 30 units from those people. If you're going to do something, you do it all the way. So file the LLC, and I'll go over in my next lessons exactly how you can do that to make sure you're doing the right things the first time. Also, I have a copy of my sample lease attached to this lesson. So download that below. You're going to want to tweak it if you want. Make sure you have an attorney read it over if you'd like. I am not an attorney. I'm not giving you any legal advice. This is just the sample lease that I use on a very brief term, and I often change it for the specific situation. I add things, I remove things depending on my deal with the specific landlord. But it's a great place to start, and it's a great place for you to get your first unit, protects you, and it's going to be very, very run-of-the-mill basic. I definitely recommend that you do have an attorney read over it anyway, but it's a great place for you to start. So download that sample lease. You now understand the importance of corporate leases to protect yourself, and I'll see you in the next lesson where we're setting up our LLC so you can then file for your LLC, get your LLC, and do a corporate lease, because obviously you can't do a corporate lease if you don't have a business. So see you on the next lesson where we're setting up our LLCs.